In the heart of that university town, where ivy-clad halls whispered secrets of generations past and modern coffee shops hummed with the chatter of ambitious dreams, a saga of intertwined destinies unfolds with a resonance that still echoes through late-night study sessions and over the clatter of coffee cups. This is the tale of Celeste and Jamie, a university student whose penetrating curiosity and burning desire for justice, and a soft-spoken barista whose gentle demeanor conceals a tempest of long-held pain, whose fates become inextricably linked in a journey of love, revenge, and redemption that defies convention and sparks hope in the face of overwhelming odds. I remember it as if the memory is etched in every shadow of the campus. Celeste, with her expressive eyes that revealed both wisdom and sorrow, moved through the lecture halls like a quiet revolutionary. A bright mind in a world that often prized conformity over curiosity, she was driven by the need to uncover hidden truths in a system riddled with injustice. Yet, behind her fierce intellect lay a tender heart, scarred by personal betrayals and systemic failures that left her yearning for a world where integrity triumphed over power. Then there was Jamie, whose every day began with the rich aroma of freshly ground coffee beans in the little shop that sat on the corner of a busy street. His soft smile welcomed regulars and strangers alike, a gentle beacon of warmth in the bustling metropolis. But behind that kind expression lay a history of betrayal, a past marked by deceit that had scarred him deeply, leaving a void that he had long attempted to fill with quiet routines and simple pleasures. The coffee shop for him was not just a workplace. It was both refuge and a stage for his silent determination to reclaim the dignity that had been stolen from him long ago. Their paths first converged on an autumn evening when the city was drenched in the golden hues of a fading sun. Celeste, exhausted from a marathon lecture and the weight of her own thoughts, sought solace in the cozy confines of that coffee shop. The gentle chime, as she pushed open the door, seemed to signal the beginning of a story larger than either of them could have anticipated. As she ordered her customary black coffee, no sugar, no frivolities, a fleeting glance was exchanged between her and Jamie. In that brief moment, as the ambient light caught the quiet depths in his eyes, there was an unspoken acknowledgement of shared pain and mutual resilience. In the ensuing weeks, their initial encounters grew into long, whispered conversations that stretched into the wee hours of the night. They spoke of dreams and disappointments, of a world that too often rewarded ambition built on deceit rather than honesty. Celeste recounted her frustration with academic bureaucracy, where innovative ideas were stifled by red tape and hidden agendas, while Jamie revealed the details of a betrayal that had once shattered his trust. How a figure from his past, a man whose charm had masked a ruthless ambition, had left him questioning the very nature of loyalty. It was a personal account of deception that resonated deeply with Celeste, fueling her own passion to fight against systems that preyed on the vulnerable. But fate, as it often does, wove their personal histories into a shared tapestry when an even darker figure emerged from the shadows of their respective worlds. A man named Marcus Reynolds. Marcus, a figure of mesmerizing charisma and veiled cruelty, had built a formidable reputation as a community leader. His influence stretched across the town like a silken thread, binding many with promises of prosperity and benevolence. Yet beneath that polished exterior, Marcus had orchestrated betrayals and manipulated the lives of countless innocents to further his ambitions. For Jamie, Marcus was the personification of the betrayal he had suffered, a betrayal so profound that it had driven him into a shell of quiet resignation. For Celeste, Marcus represented the corruption that seeped into every layer of society, a corruption that she was determined to expose at all costs. As the bond between Celeste and Jamie deepened, so too did their shared resolve to seek justice. Late nights turned into secret rendezvous at the back of the coffee shop or secluded corners of the campus, where plans were drawn on crumpled napkins and whispered fervently between sips of bitter coffee. Together, they began to gather evidence of Marcus Reynolds' misdeeds, a dossier of financial irregularities, testimonies from former associates who had been silenced by his power, and a trail of incriminating documents that hinted at a network of exploitation reaching into the highest echelons of local influence. Every piece of evidence was a small victory, each revelation a shard of truth that chipped away at Marcus's seemingly invincible facade. Celeste's relentless research skills uncovered connections between seemingly unrelated incidents, bribery, embezzlement, and even threats made in hushed tones behind closed doors. Jamie, with his keen observational skills honed during long, solitary shifts at the coffee shop, discovered that many of the regulars had once been touched by Marcus's dark influence, their lives now marred by sudden misfortunes and unexplained setbacks. The more they dug, the more they realized that Marcus's corruption was not an isolated phenomenon, but part of a larger web that had ensnared the entire community. Their investigation was not without peril. Anonymous phone calls warned them to stop, and shadowy figures lurked near their usual meeting spots. At one point, while walking along a rain-drenched street near the university, Jamie felt the unmistakable sensation of being followed. Every step he took was accompanied by the echo of hurried footsteps behind him. Yet his fear was tempered by the thought of the truth they were unraveling, a truth that demanded to be heard, no matter the personal cost. Celeste, too, experienced her own moments of near exposure, such as when a trusted colleague at the library suddenly turned cold and distant after inquiring too deeply into her research. Despite these chilling encounters, the duo's resolve only grew stronger, bound by the shared conviction that the scales of justice must be rebalanced. One pivotal evening, as the wind howled through the narrow streets and the rain painted the city in shades of gray, Celeste and Jamie found themselves at a clandestine meeting in a forgotten courtyard behind an old academic building. They were joined by a small group of allies, other students and local citizens who had grown disillusioned by the systemic exploitation orchestrated by Marcus Reynolds. In that hidden sanctuary, under the dim glow of a single street lamp, they laid out their final plan. The operation was meticulous, every detail accounted for, every risk weighed against the promise of liberation. Their objective was clear: to publicly expose Marcus Reynolds during a high-profile event he was hosting at one of the town's most prestigious venues. The day of reckoning arrived with the palpable tension of a storm on the horizon. The venue was a lavish affair, brimming with influential figures and local dignitaries, all drawn by Marcus's carefully crafted reputation. As guests mingled beneath glittering chandeliers and the soft strains of classical music filled the air, Celeste and Jamie moved like specters among the crowd. They carried with them a dossier that held the damning evidence of Marcus's misdeeds, a dossier that had been painstakingly compiled over months of covert research and risky confrontations. Every page, every recorded conversation, was a testament to the web of deceit that Marcus had spun. Celeste, dressed in a manner that was both elegant and unassuming, made her way through the throng until she found a quiet moment in the corner of a grand hall. With calm determination, she began to speak to a small group of trusted allies and sympathetic journalists who had gathered in anticipation of a major announcement. Her voice, though soft, carried the weight of uncounted injustices as she detailed the intricate network of corruption that had enabled Marcus to amass power through exploitation and manipulation. The words fell like heavy droplets into a still pond, each revelation rippling outward until the collective murmur of the assembled crowd swelled into a roar of indignation. Simultaneously, Jamie worked behind the scenes, ensuring that every piece of evidence was transmitted live through social media channels and independent news outlets. The digital broadcast spread like wildfire, and as the recorded details of Marcus's crimes played out on screens across the venue, the veneer of Marcus's charm shattered. Gasps and murmurs filled the room as guests realized the magnitude of the betrayal that had been hidden in plain sight. In that moment of public exposure, Marcus Reynolds' carefully cultivated image crumbled, replaced by a raw display of guilt and fury. The fallout was immediate and far-reaching. In the days following the expose, law enforcement agencies, spurred on by the overwhelming evidence and public outcry, began a full-scale investigation into Marcus's affairs. His empire, built on layers of deceit, rapidly unraveled under the relentless pressure of scrutiny. Friends and associates who had once been complicit in his schemes turned away, and his once impregnable network began to disintegrate. For Jamie and Celeste, the victory was bittersweet. While justice had been served and the community had awoken to the truth, the personal toll of their crusade was etched in every weary smile and haunted glance. Yet, the story did not end with Marcus's downfall. In the wake of the scandal, Celeste and Jamie found themselves thrust into new roles as symbols of resistance and reform. The community rallied behind them, inspired by their unwavering courage and the revelation that even the smallest voice could challenge a seemingly untouchable force. Celeste became a beacon for those who believed in the power of knowledge and accountability. Her research and activism sparking debates and legislative inquiries that reached far beyond the borders of their town. Jamie, once a quiet barista hidden in the background, emerged as a local hero, a man whose gentle spirit had been the quiet force behind a revolution. In the months that followed, the landscape of the community began to change. Universities reformed their policies to encourage free inquiry and transparency, while local businesses instituted measures to protect employees and customers from exploitation. The coffee shop, which had been the silent witness to so many clandestine meetings and whispered plans, became a gathering point for activists and reformers. Its walls, adorned with photos and handwritten notes of gratitude from those who had found hope in the new era of accountability, bore silent testimony to the transformative power of truth. But even as the community celebrated its hard-won victory, Celeste and Jamie grappled with the lingering shadows of their personal journeys. There were moments, late at night in the quiet aftermath of the storm, when Celeste would revisit memories of her struggles. The isolation of standing up against a tide of conformity, the loneliness of uncovering secrets that many wished to remain hidden. Jamie, too, found that his scars, though slowly healing, continued to whisper reminders of betrayal and the cost of vulnerability. Yet in these moments of introspection, they also found strength in one another, a shared understanding that the path to healing was paved with both triumphs and setbacks. As the seasons changed and the campus streets filled once again with the buzz of youthful ambition, Celeste and Jamie's alliance evolved into something even more profound. Their relationship, born of shared pain and a mutual quest for justice, deepened into a partnership that transcended simple romance. Together, they embarked on new projects aimed at reforming not only the systems that had once betrayed them, but also at nurturing the very spirit of community and empathy. They organized public forums, educational workshops, and support groups, efforts that aimed to empower others to stand up against injustice and to reclaim their own narratives. In doing so, they demonstrated that even the darkest experiences could sow the seeds of hope and collective resilience. Over time, their names became synonymous with change, a testament to the idea that ordinary people, when united by a common purpose, could challenge the entrenched powers that once seemed unassailable. The legacy of their actions rippled outward, inspiring similar movements in neighboring towns and even reaching the ears of national advocates for transparency and ethical governance. Through every trial, every setback, and every small victory, Celeste and Jamie's stories served as a living reminder that the fight for justice was never in vain, and that the light of truth, once ignited, could never be extinguished. And so, as I recount this epic saga to you, a tale of a fearless university student and a resilient coffee shop worker whose paths converge to challenge an oppressive force, I invite you to reflect on the profound power of unity, the courage to stand up for what is right, and the transformative magic of a shared purpose. Their journey, filled with moments of heart-stopping suspense, quiet heroism, and the bittersweet cost of redemption, continues to inspire those who dare to dream of a world where truth prevails over deceit and every voice, no matter how soft, has the power to spark a revolution.